Hello followers. Today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently in this video. I know I normally do a time lapse of a Pokemon card that I've altered, and I start with the little artwork in the middle and I just build upon this. But I wanted to challenge myself and do a completely original piece. Still got that Pokemon theme that we all love, but I added some Elsa and a little bit of snowy mountains in the background. So I started out with some thumbnails of what I wanted to do. I started trying to figure out, do I want Articuno flying up, down, swooping up? A lot of them had some issues because I wanted to actually be able to see Elsa's face. So I chose this view. So I thought Elsa flying down on Articuno would be pretty cool. I imagined her going up the mountain, not really caring that it was cold, because it never bothered her anyway. And she went up the mountain and caught Articuno. And she comes out on the ledge and flies down with her new Pokemon. And I imagine if Elsa was a Pokemon trainer, she would have the best ice Pokemon ever. And what better ice Pokemon is there than a legendary ice Pokemon, Articuno? I'm sorry, there might be newer ones, but I started playing when I was 4 in like 1996, so I'm a little partial to the first generation. So I started out with just a blue background for the sky and added some white in to have a bit of a gradient and to show some light coming over the mountains. And then I thought a purple color would be good for the base of the mountains, just to give it some warmth. I later go over this because I thought blue would be a better base mountain color, because all the pictures I looked at of mountains, none of them were purple. So I decided to go with a blue color. I'm kind of regretting that because Articuno popped a lot more against the purple background rather than the blue. So I'm starting to make the mountains now, adding snow on, trying to give them depth. So I started out with kind of a more Disney style mountain, and I'm not so sure I like that. I ended up changing it later in the piece. I did try to make the mountains in the background a lot fainter to pop Articuno out. This was really a lot of trial and error in this piece. So I tried the purple, didn't like it. Tried the blue. Probably should have just tweaked the purple a little to give the painting some warmth. It really needs warmth in the end. So here I am doing the snow on the second mountain, and it's still in that Disney style. It's not the best style for this painting because my style is a little bit more realistic. That's what I've been trying to do with painting the Pokemon cards. I started out as a challenge to try to do different styles, and it's been really successful. I've definitely learned so much about acrylic painting. I took a oil painting class in college back when I did one semester of art school, and oil is so very different than acrylic. Oil just stays there. It stays wet. You can blend it easily. Acrylic, it dries in the blink of an eye. So you either have to use medium that makes it dry slower, or be very, very quick, or mix colors and figure it out somehow. So I've been using a couple of the techniques. So here I am, starting out with Articuno, outlining a little bit, trying to give it some definition, trying to figure out what style I want to do Articuno in. So I'm outlining, doing a bit of that. May I just say, outlining, not the best idea, but I do well by laying down a color base that's good and then adding detail on top of it. So I really just played around with different feather styles, different things. So I start out with just, well, let's just do shading on the feathers. And I didn't like that so much. But I give it a good go. I finish it up, and then I decide I don't like this painting at all. It doesn't pop. It looks like something I would have done when I was in high school. So it really needed some different vibes to it. So after I paint an Elsa, I go back and I change Articuno up a bit. And that's probably one of the best things I do. But the second time doesn't work out so well either. So I go for more of a feathery style. And that really doesn't work very well. I tried to do this gradient where I start with the more turquoise color and fade into a lighter color and then end with the turquoise again. No, I start with a darker color and then just fade into the turquoise using the softer blue in between. Because if you look at Articuno from the Pokemon like games or Pokemon Go, it's that nice like soft blue, and then at the tips of its wings and tail are that turquoise color that we associate with Articuno more, or at least I do. So I really wanted to incorporate that into the piece and give it a little pop of color other than just soft blue, dark blue, white. So I'm going in and painting Elsa's face, and that's very hard because her face was about ½ an inch tall. I would not suggest having a face in your painting that small. It's really not meant for detail. If that's not your subject and it's in the background, that's fine, but having that in the foreground as your subject, like Articuno is the main subject, because you can't really see Elsa. So there's a lot of trial and error, as I said. I'm just messing around with the tail, trying to figure out what I want to do with it. It's pretty awkward angle it's at because it's on the easel, and I'm trying not to push on the easel too much. I have the lights coming down, and the setup was not that good because it was in the middle of my living room and very hard to walk around, but it gave you a nice lighted video. So going in and adding shading and highlights to Articuno, and this is still the first pass. We're gonna go a lot longer. So at this point, I could have been, it's done, it's not great, but it's done. Well, I decided not to do that. I decided to keep going, to make it better, and just keep trying. So I block over the mountains that I don't like in white and blue just to give a light side and a dark side. And then I go in and add some highlights and lowlights. On the right mountain, I add some cliffs, like fading towards you. They're a little much. I really should have toned them down a bit. Just one of the references I was looking at had that sort of cliffs. So to make my mountains better, I wanted to go off the references a little bit more. I was kind of leaning on them as a crutch a little bit too much. So I'm just going in and I add the blue as the cliff side and then add some shadows behind it because the light is coming from behind the mountains, and some shadows as it draws towards the viewer. So I'm just overhauling these mountains right now. Just adding in some snow, trying to figure out how blue I want the snow. I make it a little too bright, honestly, because Articuno really doesn't pop as much as it should. So the mountain that's like second to the foreground, I do a little bit less detail on just to make it stand more in the background. So this is when I'm doing the second try on the feathers. It's getting late at this point. It's almost like 10 p.m. and I'm just so tired of painting at this point. So I go through this and I go to bed and then I wake up and I do something else. So that's when I start just painting in actual like individual feathers. So here I go from the turquoise to the navy to the soft blue to the light soft blue, back to the soft blue and the navy and the turquoise. So this way it gives a lot more detail, and I personally like detail in my pieces. So then I go in and add feather details and shading, and I keep going with this. So after that first night, I get about through the turquoise feathers, and then in the morning I wake up rejuvenated and ready to work. So at that point I'm just gonna overhaul the rest of the wing and the other wing, and then add some speckling to Articuno for the actual feathers. Then redo the tail and give it more of a sheen than just, well, it's there, because Articuno's tail is supposed to be very pretty. So at this point I'm still missing Elsa's cape. The background mountains need some work. The foreground mountains are pretty much good, even though they could probably use a nice warm purple wash, but I don't ever do that. I think I'll try in Photoshop and maybe put that in at the end to see how it looks. So get the second wing done, and after the wings are done, it's a lot simpler to finish because it's just adding detail, and details are a lot easier really than all the figuring out and planning of where I want things to be and seeing what looks good and the trial and error. I will eventually get better at this and not have to do so much trial and error, but that's going to take some time and some practice, and hopefully I'll get faster at painting because this took me all weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My husband had to go grocery shopping for me, which probably wasn't the best idea. But this way I was able to get it done and finished on the weekend, and I didn't have to work on it Monday night, because Monday night is not fun to work on things. You just want to relax and chill. But so doing the tail now, and once that's done, we're almost done with the entire painting. It's just a couple more details, like see how I add in the glossiness there. Adding some blue into Elsa's hair to make it look more like it's actually in the painting. Fixing Articuno's beak so it doesn't look like a pigeon. And just going in and going around the beak and making sure the mountain's flush and nothing else needs to be changed. Put in Elsa's cape, and then splatter on the snow, and I am done. Well, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time, hopefully with a Pokemon card again. Bye.